Has been clicked.
The clicking has worked by the looks.
With that, we're live. Hello.
And I can't click. But hello.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
No, I don't want to show everyone how I can't click. I've never been able to click.
I did not. That's great. We're here to answer your tech question because it's 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. So yeah, that means it's tech happy hour, which is 100% free of charge. Unless you want drinks, in which case you'll get your own. But yeah, you can ask us your questions. There is no such thing as a dumb question. So you can ask us live here for this, or there is our contact details at www.thedotmail.com/contact. And you can ask us questions anytime in the live stream. Yeah, pretty much that. Drinks. What are you drinking today?
I found a big thing of Boost.
Okay, are you gonna drink that whole thing?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Maybe.
I was lazy this morning, so Schweppes lemonade. Oh, look, listen. Ready? Probably really bad.
I was going to say it's probably very loud.
Anyway, so we do this 7 p.m. every Tuesday. You can come and have a drink with us and ask us your tech questions. Our drinks are non-alcoholic, as you probably just saw. So, yeah, Schweppes lemonade, you have fruit juice.
It smells interesting.
Have you not had it before?
No.
I think I've had that before. I think it's all right. From memory anyway. But yes, if you're drinking, you can drink whatever the heck you want.
Just do it responsibly.
Drink responsibly. The failure is not on off. Yeah, it's just two fair questions are. So, yeah, probably get started.
And what are we talking about this week? This week we're talking about benchmarks.
Yeah.
But not going into detail like you did in your video that's already come out. No benchmarking like that. But yeah, you went into a lot of detail the other day in your non-live video, didn't you? Or has that not come out yet?
My bad.
I feel like you did.
What?
Yes.
Empirical.
Yes.
We only ran one benchmark.
Oh.
In a bench, or it went out the door.
But did you talk about the other benchmarks though, didn't you? No?
That's going to be nice. So, yeah. This is kind of like a precursor to that. So, okay, if you're not familiar with the process of benchmarking...
Hey, Grandma.
Pretty sure I've covered it in a previous live stream, but I'm going to cover it again. So, it's basically the process of getting a guide or an indication of your computer's performance.
A mark.
Yeah. And then you can compare it with something else.
You bench it off against each other.
Yeah, we did that.
Hence the name bench.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
So you can get your mark and compare it to other people and see whereabouts you stand.
That, definitely. So, well, that's probably fairly, like, I think benchmark is a fairly well-known term. It's fairly, like, commonplace language. No?
Well, I know with me personally, like, I benchmark after I do everything. But
I mean, if you walk, if you're walking down the street and ask them, like, if you say that you're trying to gain a benchmark for, I don't know, something, some piece of
would
step length or something,
possibly,
like, people would understand what you mean.
I'm just trying to think if I've ever heard it out of a computer terminology. I don't think I have. Yeah, but that's still like an IT-based kind of thing.
Yes and no, it's still, I guess.
Because I've heard like tallies,
yeah,
and stuff like that. Not so much.
Well, yeah, it's a form of measurement.
Yeah, but like I said, I feel like it needs to be a bit more.
But
like,
actually, before I go further, and I was going to mention this in the video that I'm going to this.
Is that a blue screen I see?
I think that may have just cracked.
Again. Please note, guys, it's all right. It's not a fancy computer. It's currently testing onboard graphics.
Oh no, it went to sleep while it was benchmarking.
That's terrible.
Yeah, that's really terrible.
But there are two main different types of benchmark.
Well, before that, I'm
No.
going to talk about this. There was an article. There was a thing that a few people mentioned earlier last month. Intel says the industry should switch from benchmarks to the benefits of tech.
Yeah.
So Intel want people to stop focusing on benchmark results and start focusing on the benefits of the technology instead.
Yeah. That's mostly because they're getting beaten out of existence.
Yeah, Intel's getting beaten. Or actually, still for gaming, though, I think they're ahead, aren't they?
This new batch of XTs have reined it in to a stage where it's not really noticeable. Yeah.
But that being said, bang for buck, AMD is still cheaper than Intel.
Yes.
Like for the performance that you get.
Yes.
And then overclockability, because you've got to buy the higher end chip and higher end board in the Intel to overclock, whereas you can do it on pretty much anything.
Yeah. But the thing is, with the Intel's, the big difference with Intel and AMD in that factor is the fact that not all Ryzens and that will overclock as much as what. Yeah. So with the Intel, it's kind of like they've gone, if it's not a K, we're not happy with the silicon.
Yeah.
If it's a K, you will be able to overclock it to this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
So they've been chips.
Yeah. Whereas Ryzen's just like you can overclock everything. Yeah.
That's them.
Yeah. Whereas Ryzen's just pretty much like you can overclock, you can overclock, you can overclock. See what you can get.
I think until that when we were starting to look into RAM speed, most DDR4, or actually all DDR4 RAM,
it's 2133.
It's 2133, yes. And then there've been chips.
Yes,
which is terrible.
Yeah, it's literally all of it. I think when we were talking about that, we didn't know if it was all of them.
Yeah,
we thought it was, but yeah, it is all 2133 base, and it's. But even then, it's still it's certified to go higher because they've tested it at those higher rates. Whereas if you put it in the computer, that's not saying it's going to go straight to 3600. If you put RAM into a computer, you need to go into the BIOS to make sure that it's getting what you want.
Yeah.
Because you put it in, and if you haven't got XMP or DOCP on, it's not going to boost.
But on an Intel machine, that doesn't mean that much. I don't understand.
Well, that's just because Intel doesn't rely as much on RAM speed.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ryzen have the hyper threading and all that stuff that play a part with each other.
Yeah. But Intel apparently want us to stop focusing on the benchmark. But if you think about it, all benchmark does is give you a point of comparison. So if you run one benchmark on one computer, like a benchmarking program on one computer, and then go and run it on the next computer that you're comparing to, you have a direct point of comparison.
Yeah.
You still want to go to like an office work, the Harvey Norman, Jaden Pipeline, just run Cinebench and maybe a few other benchmarks on everything and see how long it takes before they kick us out.
I'm just trying to work out why I didn't get a notification. Normally I get a notification.
Please give us.
Normally I get a notification for the post going up. I didn't get a notification this time.
Probably because I haven't shared it yet. Let me do that. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the difference between synthetic and real world benchmarks?
As far as I know, the difference between synthetic and real world is pretty much exactly what it says. Real world is based around the game. So, like if you're doing a benchmark, well, yeah, a real world program. So, like if you are trying to benchmark rendering, it will actually render something.
Yeah. Again. Or using the same program.
Yeah, using that program. So like one of the ones here we're going to talk about is World of Tanks. So it takes like actual gameplay, and that's what benchmarks. Like that's what you get your score of. Whereas the synthetic one would be something like Furmark.
Yeah.
Where it's literally just where it's just a big blob.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, Furmark's just a big blob.
Yeah. But basically, synthetic benchmarks designed purely just as a benchmark.
Yeah.
So they're not real world.
Oh, you nearly say as well as stress test.
Yes. Well, stress testing, you can stress test by sustained benchmark. So
Yeah.
benchmark back, but yeah, that is. But basically, like real world benchmark is you take a program that actually exists that somebody would use day to day,
Yeah.
or use as is.
Yeah.
So the games, I mean, some games have a built-in benchmark,
Yeah.
so that you can see how they're made, or in the case
yeah.
the benchmark program that has parts of the game in it and uses the same game engine. So then you get a real world idea of how that's going to run.
Which I was going to say, one of the reasons I like real world in game benchmarks is the fine tuning you can get for your system. So, like, if you haven't got that, you don't know where your computer's sitting unless you have another program reading your FPS and you spend time watching that and tweaking from there.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but compared to the number, like
the sheer amount that don't is pretty bad. But I know there are a lot of games with them, which tend to be higher end kind of games, I feel. Like the more demanding the title is on your PC, the more likely you're going to have an in-game benchmark. Like one of the ones that come off the top of my head's Rainbow Six Siege has one. Forza Horizon has it. Shadow of the Tomb Raider has it, and even there, one of the ones we use that came out before the game even came out was the Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
Like it came out ages before the game did, just so people can get a system ready for it, because that is a demanding game.
Yep.
So
did you hear about the trouble that they got into with that benchmark?
Nope.
But yeah, I think Gamers Nexus were the ones to uncover this, which is not really a massive surprise to me how in-depth they are with testing. Basically, they discovered that Final Fantasy benchmark, one of the older versions, I think, not the current version, but fixed it. Being that it's supposed to be a real world game, what it was doing was that it was still rendering objects once they were off the screen. So if you think about it, if you drive past like a bunch of trees and bushes, once they're off the screen, your computer should not be dedicating processing time to rendering that anymore.
But it was.
It was keeping
off
screen, still perfect.
Yeah, that's not good.
It wasn't real world fun.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they fixed it and it's okay now, but for a little while, it was not okay.
Yeah. But that's not good.
No.
But I'm just trying to look at. But you also get like that CPU Z. Does that do? Can you benchmark on that?
Yes, it has a built-in benchmarking tab. I've been using that extensively. It's been great.
Interesting.
Oh, perfect.
Hey, welcome to my world. Normally, you can just turn it back on down the bottom, where it says stop cam.
Interesting.
Yes.
Benchmark this thing, and that is just not working with the platform.
But yeah, so I do enjoy benchmarking because, like I said, me being a gamer, I like trying to get the maximum out of each game. So I'm not all about the looks.
Fucking because me and spreadsheets are like this. It's great. You should see my benchmarking spreadsheet. I don't think
I'm not sure. But yeah, so wow. Yeah, no.
Let me run through the top to bottom. So
it's probably easier if you screen share, yeah.
I don't want to share the results yet. They
Why
could
not?
be the subject of the next video.
But that means someone's good. That means they gotta be watching. This could be a sneak preview. Or not.
I'm not sharing that with the general public. But look, benchmarks that we run top to bottom The first one is Cinebench. So Cinebench, we do an average of 3 runs, and that's Cinebench R20 because there's R15 and R20.
And R15 is the older one, which R15. If you use it with a modern system, the score is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the scale is just
That's probably why
terrible. That's why they brought out the R20, so it was a more realistic and comparable benchmark.
So the first run is just Cinebench on its own. I
20.
usually can't get a screenshot of each result as well as part of the process. So the first one is Cinebench, and these are the synthetic benchmarks. All right, where's my list? I should have this open already. Well, I did have it open.
What are we talking about?
Benchmarks. Here we go. Okay. So then, like I said, it's 3-run average. The first one is just on its own. The second one, I then open hardware monitor and then monitor the CPU temperature just to make sure it's not overheating. Then the CPU is warmed up a little bit. So then I do a third one again just to make sure that I'm still getting consistent performance and make sure that it's still not overheating. There have been some CPUs that I have actually hit the thermal solid limit.
3300X.
600.
Yeah.
Both with Red Spire stuff coolers. But that's a subject for another day. Make those.
Can we? Your camera's too far away.
What?
You kind of can see it, but you can't really see it. I just got really excited.
What?
The cooler.
No, you can.
How you fixed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
And now I'll come back.
Okay.
But that's one thing you definitely want to check before you start benchmarking as well.
Yes, that's why.
Big boy is making sure you have adequate cooling.
Yeah.
Because as we've seen, like Nathan said, the 3600 hit thermal throttling on the stock cooler. So did the 3300X. Both of which we sorted out and fixed by installing large coolers.
I would like to take this opportunity to point out, though, that for one, the Wraith Spire, so the taller version of the Wraith Stealth, seemed to be okay, like within acceptable limits.
Which comes with the R7s.
No.
No?
Yes. Well, yours was an R5.
Yeah, but mine was an X.
But the 2600 came with them as well. It was a Spire, not a Stealth.
Hmm.
It seems they cheaped out once you get to the 3rd gen. 3000. Sorry.
I can't open it. I was going to see what came with the 3600.
You can tell by the size of the
Yeah, it's tiny, true. Oh, yeah, because my box is huge. Mine's like one of the ones up top.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew that.
So yeah, and on top of that, the other thing too is that we found these under sustained load, which for most people, like probably 9 out of 10, are not going to be flat strapping the CPU for 3 consecutive runs of Cinebench.
Well, that's
You're right.
because that's not it like real world usage. That's at
Synthetic.
100% usage.
if you're doing things like media creation or something CPU intensive, it's going to be a focus.
But the thing is, if you wouldn't be doing that with these kind of cards, these chips.
Especially like, say for example, if you're doing like gaming.
Yeah, which I was talking to Nathan about earlier. I sit at about 45%.
Gaming upgrade because you you only need to upgrade if you hit like 100.
Is this close to 50%?
Yeah,
It needs to get upgraded. It is. It hurts me.
why? Because you want 50% headroom.
Yes, I need that space because that space means cooler. The less strain I'm putting on my CPU in the hole is better.
I don't think that really matters.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter, but it matters in my head.
Okay. So the next program, well, I briefly mentioned Open Hardware Monitor because that's one for the attempts, so you can add that, but that's not really a benchmark. CPU Z. Most people use this just to get information about their CPU. It actually has a built-in benchmarking program. It doesn't take very long. That one's probably one of the quickest benchmarks. It's a lot.
And it's not just your CPU you get info on. CPU Z gets everything.
Yeah, there's like GPU Z as well. People tell you more information about
the graphics.
Graphics side of
But
things.
yeah, CPU Z is pretty much if you've got a computer and you have no idea what's on it, you install CPU Z.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Everything down to revision, stepping, everything like
Motherboard.
Yeah, motherboard, serial numbers, I think a lot, everything is just in there. It's awesome.
Again, that's why we like it.
Just while we're at it though, by comparison, if you just want a quick snapshot of what's in your computer, spec
Yes,
SPECCY will give you open it straight away, you get a quick snapshot of everything: CPU, RAM, motherboard, how many RAM slots, how many drives, what your video card is, everything. It's awesome.
We probably should dive into that CPU Z a bit harder one day. Because I just remembered the fact that, like, going on from what we talked about with the 2133 RAM, the fact that it reads half. Yeah, it tends to read half, so you freak out. But speed.
Serial present stuff.
Yeah. But just because I feel like people who might get that and open it and be like, hang on, my RAM is meant to be 3600, but it's only reading 1300.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
But yeah, your next one is CPU user benchmark. And the reason that we run this is twofold. One, so that we can actually see how our computer performs against other ones that we've had in, but two, so that then our results then get submitted to the worldwide database, online database that a lot of people use for comparing stuff, including us. We use it to compare different hardware when we're looking for stuff. So yeah, that's always.
And it also is a slight measuring contest as well amongst mates. Well, me and Jake, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Me and him have a little competition. I'm still winning, just.
Okay. For our real world benchmark, so those ones were synthetic. For our real world benchmarking, we use Asus's ROG Real Bench. And just in case you're wondering, that doesn't just work on Asus computers. That will run on anything. So you don't have to have Asus hardware to run it. The reason, though, that we picked that, and the reason that we picked all of these benchmarks, is that you can get all of these benchmarks 100% for free.
Yeah.
So that means that you can take the names of these and go and run them on your own computer, and you can find out results. If you want, you can come and send us your results. We can talk about them, or
Well, the fact with Cinebench, especially, it's Microsoft. Well, it's on the.
It's distributed by the
Microsoft. Yeah. So you can go to the Microsoft store it's just one of those things where it's easier. It's probably the easiest one to get a hold of. Yeah. Because you just open up your Microsoft store.
Fairly big program.
Yes.
If you want quick and easy CPU.
Yeah. The one I get worried about that scares me is one of the next ones you're going to talk about.
Well, I'll finish ROG first. The reason that we picked ROG Real Bench is because it actually contains open source software that people would actually use day to day. So it includes Handbrake, which is used for video encoding. It uses GIMP, which is the open source alternative to Photoshop. So people use that for image editing. It uses, I forget what the other one is, but there's a don't even start. There's a ray tracing programming, like a 3D program. It's not Blender. I don't know what it's called exactly. I can't remember. But yeah, it measures all of those things. So it gives a fairly well-rounded look at how your computer performs. And like I said, it's free, it's really quick, and it's based on software that people do actually use in the real world. So yes. So sorry, which software were you going to talk about?
I'm scared of Furmark. Just because the fact you can burn your stuff out if you don't pay attention.
You can just keep letting it run and run.
Yeah.
I like them.
Because doesn't it have the big warning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the gaming side of things, so gaming benchmarks. So, or graphics related benchmarks. So for gaming and graphics related benchmarks, the first one that we use is Furmark, as referred to as the furry donut. Let me see if we can get that up and running. You want to talk about that?
It pretty much is just a continuous loop of death. Well, I didn't mean to do a weird voice there. But it's literally just a furry donut ball thing that continually rotates. It doesn't really do anything else. It kind of looks like the is that Sauron? Sauron?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much like that. And yeah, it just repeats. I don't know how that's gonna go on that computer though.
It's really not cool.
It scares me a lot. Because like I said, this one, if you don't pay attention to, it can damage your graphics card in a big way.
Like. Don't worry, it's not demonic as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's basically a donut fur. So it's just without your graphics card.
To the max.
As much as it can.
Yeah.
And now that we've hit this benchmark for stress testing, I actually run, like on any computers that I build, I run Cinebench for 1 hour, like straight, for CPU testing. And then I run Furmark for an hour straight, again for load testing.
Yeah.
For power load testing, I have a power meter that I plug into the wall or into the PowerPoint socket and then cable to the computer. And then I run both Furmark and CPU and Cinebench simultaneous to draw as much load as possible.
Yeah. Damn, son.
Because I want full max power usage.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's the reason he does that is because Cinebench uses 100% CPU.
Yep.
And Furmark uses 100% graphics.
Yep.
Is there any way you can stress the memory as well, or do you think between them?
You need to do like Memtest does that, but I don't usually just run because usually in the normal operation, like in just running programs and setting everything up, you'll find out pretty quickly if it's strong for RAM.
Yeah, RAM's normally a very yeah.
So yeah,
you tend to notice you have an issue as soon as you turn the computer on.
Yeah,
because it won't turn on.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They usually start really they're ugly, and when you start running these benchmarks and stress tests anyway.
Yeah, Furmark's a good one.
That's Furmark. That running terribly because it's onboard graphics. It's not my bad animator or anything. I think it's not that terrible. But yes, the next one is 3D Mark, which is pretty much the gold standard, I think, of synthetic benchmarks. People have been using 3D Mark.
Do you still use the OG one, or is there a new one? Oh no, because we use the Skyfall and all that. That's what 3D Mark is. Yeah,
I'm on the 4 available tests on the 3D Mark.
Yeah,
Firefly, Timefly, Night Raid, Skydive.
Yeah, and I think and that's one you definitely see on most YouTube channels. Yeah, that's a very popular one.
I'd probably take this opportunity to point out that we don't use the Heaven benchmark. It's not because we have anything against Heaven, and you can all go and use that for free. But us as a business, legally, the license requires that we buy a copy, and in Australian dollars, I think it's close to $1,000.
Wow!
So you can go do that. In fact, I recommend that you do that.
But why?
As a business, we technically can't.
My issue with that personally, though, is the fact that it doesn't read anything over 4 gig. For some reason. It hurts my head. Like, no matter what graphics card you put in it, like we've tested with 4s and 8s and all that, it just reads 4.
Okay.
Like I put my graphics card in, which is a 5700 XT, and it reads it as 4 gig. So I don't know if it's only using 4 gig, or if it's a weird thing with the program. But yeah, It's quite frustrating.
It's unfortunate though, because that is actually quite a good benchmark.
Oh yeah,
As far as I understand, it's based on the Unreal Engine, so,
yes,
and Unreal Engine is used in a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know if I class that as synthetic or real world. I think that would just fall under synthetic because it's not based on an actual real world game.
yeah,
But the engine is used in so many things. But that being said, there's so many things you can do with the Unreal Engine that I think just having a benchmark based on the same engine isn't enough to fill a
yeah.
real-ish world. Like, I call it the purgatory.
I don't feel like there's enough action in it because it's more of a like yes, it's pretty much just going through scenery.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Whereas
Yeah,
if you
there's
look
no
at
actual game.
like if even with 3D Mark though, like you have
You haven't
you have the active character, you have fight scenes, you have the enemies, you have lots of things happening.
Yeah.
Whereas with Heaven, it's just a slow cruise through.
Yeah.
If you didn't know it was a benchmark, you'd think it was just like a screensaver.
pretty much.
Whereas all the rest, you're benchmarking.
But anyway, so onto the real world benchmarking side of things. So for gaming, we've got World of Tanks Encore RT. So I'm pretty sure the RT is for ray tracing. They actually have ray tracing support now in benchmark, which is
Interesting.
cool.
I haven't got a ray tracing CPU graphics card, so
So yeah, so that's cool because it is actually, I don't know what the term is. Well, it's actually based on the game of World of Tanks.
again, yeah, it literally shows you like which graphics you use in the game.
Yeah.
You see in the test.
Yep.
So pretty much if you got the game and you ran the settings you ran in the test,
Yep.
That's what it looks like.
Yep.
And that's why I personally love
Yep.
real world
Yep.
tests.
The next one is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So, we said that you can get these benchmarks 100% for free. The benchmark is built into the demo.
Yes.
The Tomb Raider. So you can go and download the demo from Steam,
It's huge.
which again is going to cost you nothing. Yeah, it takes ages to download, but it is in-game performance. You can actually set your settings first and then run the benchmark, which is exactly what you said.
Which is what I love.
I can see the benefit to that too, because if you're playing multiplayer, and some games only have a multiplayer component, you want to know how your computer performs before you're mid-battle. Otherwise, you drop frames, you can't see anything, you're dead.
You lose your mind.
You know.
Because like the games I have that have it is, like I said, Rainbow Six Siege is a big one where you can run it. Same with Horizon, you run it.
Yeah.
It gives you a score and it gives you the option to modify and then rerun.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing I love because, again, like I said, I want to make it, with me personally, I aim for 2K resolution and 144 frames.
Yeah.
So I don't really care what it looks like because at 2K low settings look bloody amazing.
Yeah.
So
I want it to look good at full frame rate.
like I would love that, but the thing is to get that, like to get 2K
at 144
at 144 frames per second. Like yes, most monitors only do 60.
Yeah.
So if you get a 2K one, most of them will do 60.
This is
you get,
why I have 60 hertz screens.
Yeah. You get 40, you get a 4K monitor,
No.
It's most definitely only going to be 60 unless you're bending over for price.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like if I were to do 60, which is your most common frame rate, I would easily, comfortably be sitting at 2K full like visual prowess.
Yep.
But in gaming, that's really not what you want. Like you look at most professional settings, if you look at their game, it looks absolutely trash because they're like, I don't want anything except for the distance and the frames.
Probably less distracting too.
Oh, dude, it is crazy looking at professional setups because it, like I said, it hurts my head.
I find mine.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like what was it? Battlefield.
Pretty funny.
One of the Battlefield games, I think.
Yeah.
It was like that. Like I was looking up trying to work out good settings, and it's like this is a professional thing, and I'm like, it's stupidly bright
Yeah.
because so the characters stand out more, and I'm just like, no, it's like boxy, and it's like, no, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting. I've never thought about it, but it makes sense.
Mm.
Anyway, the last benchmark we have on the list is Final Fantasy 15, which is the benchmark we were talking about before. They got caught out when apparently they were rendering object off screen and went on screen, and yeah, it's been fixed apparently, and we've added that to our benchmark suite, and so can you. That's it. It's over.
I actually have a question about that, because wouldn't that make it more real world then?
No,
Because
the game shouldn't be rendering stuff when it's off screen.
I thought you had the angle, and it had this stuff like nearly rendered, but not completely.
Yeah.
So like when you move,
in some games, you can see them rendering. Like
yeah, yeah.
But like,
Oh,
stuff
yeah, I
that they're,
guess.
like, you know how, well, you're familiar with the Final Fantasy benchmark. They get the car off the tow truck. They get the
Yeah.
still rendering with the stuff.
Ah, yeah. So that's bad.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I was like thinking like if they were talking about like the swinging view and stuff like that, like
Yeah,
I'm like,
no, if it's just off to the side, like
yeah, yeah. But if it's 3 scenes prior, not good.
yeah.
But in saying that, yeah, and well, it probably wouldn't have been hard because they actually no,
How would you think? How would you know if it's off to me?
I know they're pretty smart. Those guys, yeah, like those guys have been doing it for a very long time. But like those benchmarks, again, one of the things we've learnt though, which kind of goes to user benchmark, don't always trust user benchmark.
No. User benchmark pegged the 3600 as better than the Threadripper 1920.
Yeah, they also
3600 was apparently better, I think, than 1920X Threadripper.
well, it's also like my graphics card.
Oh, wait, no, it might have been something different. I can't remember, but it was something stupid. I'm like, that's not right. It's just because they didn't have enough data to report.
Yeah, not just that though. You've also got to. They also take into consideration everyone. So one thing I've learned is there's some ways on, especially Cinebench, to work around what. What am I trying to say? Gigahertz. Like what frequency your CPU's at.
Yeah.
So I've been able to overclock mine, have it say that it's only 3.8, but it was at 4.2, which people can do on the user benchmark, which also skews the results. So it's not. Well, mine was just different ways of overclocking.
Yeah,
like I didn't find it deliberately.
Same people are doing it without meaning to.
They might not mean to, yeah. Because with me, I only noticed it because I think it was Josiah who pointed it out. The fact that one of my tests said 4.2 and the other one didn't.
Yeah. Interesting.
But yeah, and like I said, the other thing is it takes into consideration price and all that, and it's a very confusing site. Like, yeah, whereas like if you look at other sites, I forget what it was, like the difference between, I'm pretty sure it was my graphics card, like the 5700 XT and like a 1080. It said that the 1080 was better, and it's like I can hands down say that my 5700 XT is better.
Yeah.
So
what I did when I was comparing the Threadripper, because there wasn't much data on CPU benchmark for that. So when I was comparing the 1920X for the video that I just did, I compared the 3700X, 3800X. I seen what other people got as their results in Cinebench. Yeah, got to run before we
got rid of it.
So yeah, so that one, yeah, it beat both the 3700X and the 3800X. I was fairly impressed because it was slightly cheaper than both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it is this. It says that a 1080 is 1% better. and I guarantee you it is.
Mm.
Like, yeah, there you go. So this is the confusing part. Game FPS, it says it's 1% better. You scroll down a little bit, the effective speed, which is, when it comes to graphics card, one of the main things you want.
Mm.
The 5700 XT is ranked 16. The 1080 is 19.
So they've actually ranked it high.
Yes, it's a ranked higher card, but it's supposedly game FPS worse. And then you scroll down again, overclock. Even though the 5700 XT has better frames, they've given the overclock score to the 1080 by 1%. Even though, like I said, the 5700 has better frames.
I can tell you spent a lot of time.
This annoyed me a lot because a lot of people gave me grief about getting rid of my 1080 for the 5700 XT.
Yeah.
When they really shouldn't. The only thing I kind of deserve is the noise. Like, it's a lot louder than the other ones. But yeah. But yeah, no, that's just one thing I want to really make sure with user benchmarks that people understand is it's not always what you expect.
Yeah.
So, yes. What other issues do we have with benchmarks that you can think of?
Okay, something interesting that I found. So what I've done is I've taken a bunch of Ryzen processors and put them in the same computer and then run benchmarks, like pretty much back to back.
Yeah.
For about a week straight. It's just benchmark after benchmark after benchmark, getting it all done. The reason it was a week straight though was because I took out the Wi-Fi card from my computer, so the customer needed it. So I took it out, sold it, and then came back and ran the next benchmark and noticed that it was significantly better than the previous one. I'm like, I wonder if this has any relation. I can remove the Wi-Fi card. So then I went back through all the CPUs again and ran all the benchmarks again. And it did actually make quite a sizable difference, even though I wasn't connected to a Wi-Fi network.
That's
So if you don't have Wi-Fi, like if you don't need Wi-Fi, don't put Wi-Fi cards in your computer. Or don't get motherboards with Wi-Fi because you're losing performance.
So I need to pull out my Wi-Fi.
Mm.
Why haven't I been told this?
I told you when I did it.
Was I awake?
Yep, you were right there.
You sure I was awake?
Okay, that's a question.
I may have to pull mine out and have a go and let you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's actually the other thing about user benchmark. I take it with a grain of salt.
It's not. For the reason that I decided to do benchmarks ourselves in the house is because I didn't want to rely.
Yeah.
And I wanted to actually know which ones were better, which ones weren't. So, yeah.
Well, straight up here, the best CPU on user benchmark is the 10900K.
Awesome.
The Ryzen 3950X, which is probably the best Ryzen you can get until Threadripper. What do you think it comes in at?
2. 3.
41st.
No. What's ahead of it?
Everything. All the way up to 31. The 3900 XT is supposed to be better.
That's not right. Hey.
Even the fact that 3800 XT is meant to be better than 3950X.
That's not right.
And then, yeah. So there's two. There's two AMD higher. It's wrong. But that's what I mean. Like, that's why you really need to be careful with.
Yeah.
Like, it's saying, okay, it says that it's a better workstation.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to think it is.
Yeah. Well, okay, you take it as a general indicator.
Yeah.
Not gloss. So it doesn't say anything about user saves there, right?
No.
Yeah.
But it even, I'm pretty sure my computer gets a higher rating than the 3950X for like gaming and desktop. Yeah, so be careful, guys. There's traps. You gotta really, well, it actually comes back. You need, one of the reasons why we do more than one benchmark is so we can see, we can compare scores to make sure that things are sitting right. So when it comes to this, do the same thing. Look at this, go look at other sites, because there are other sites to compare, and you will see that the 3950X.
read and watch reviews.
Yes.
So they're very. You can, like, if you have the luxury of it, do the benchmarking yourself.
Yeah. But in saying that, like, I will be honest, pretty much if you want best for gaming, like ultimate best,
Intel,
Intel.
but benchmark is not there.
But if you're not
You
wanting to
want
break
it,
that, yeah,
That's the thing.
yes, yes, they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely use doing your own benchmarks, because, like I said, it's not even trying to compare to others. It was making sure things are working right.
I think it's for like even just comparing your own. So if you
Upgrade. Yeah.
If you're changing computers, old computer, but new computer.
It's the best way to do it. Yeah. Which again, I don't always post up the scores, but that's what we do down here all the time.
Yeah.
Like I even ran like this computer here. If anyone was keen-eyed, would notice that it's not the same. I finally got my upgrade.
Somebody had to
It does. I'm finally reunited with my 2600. But yeah, I today just casually, just to make sure everything was running all right. No, so I made them white. Yeah. I ran Cinebench today.
Yeah.
Just to put a stress test. Not as good as I have before. Not with this CPU. I think it was 2,732. I think it was.
Yeah.
From memory. You know, I can 2,734 is what I got. And I wonder if I can quickly look at mine in your chat, see if I can find my biggest score from before. Because I know that I've overclocked this CPU pretty hard out before and got decent scores. If I can find it quickly, which is that it? Yeah. Yeah, I can do better than that. I've had it up to 3,056 is what I've had this CPU up to. So that's a 300 point game. No, I'm not going to do it because this is. I might do it because that's a decent hike. 300 points is a decent hike.
I don't like for us here, stability is more important.
It was stable, mostly. But yeah, I don't know what else to talk about with benchmarks. What else can I think? No. Do we call it early or do we touch on something? Actually, there you go. Let's get rid of that because I'm sick of looking at it. Completely off topic, guys. We don't have an ATM anymore. I'm throwing you under the bus. I'm sick of looking at it, so we can get rid of it now.
This has been on the show notes for ages.
We have a square somewhere.
So, with the event of COVID, there goes that monetization.
You messed it up.
Yeah, so we got one of these. So this is a square reader. For those of us in Australia, you can pick these up from Officeworks for I think it's $59.
That's cheap.
And this connects to your phone, or in this case, your iPad. So look, got these lights to tell you when it's working, it's charged or whatever, and then you connect the two. This square up. Takes a second to connect, but yeah, we got rid of our FPOS machine because when COVID hit, there was going to be nobody down here until restrictions were lifted again, which only happened recently. So we weren't going to be paying the FPOS fee for that. And that being said, I'm out on the road a lot now. I need to take FPOS facilities with me. So yeah, so I take this with me now, which is cool. And yeah, then you get out once it opens like this. You can enter the sale amount and then charge it. And then once you've charged it, then you can tell it to pick it up. Well, when you press the charge, it looks for a card on here. And yeah, so you can tap and pay, which you can see by the logo, or you can actually insert the card. If you want to actually stand by the magnetic strip, they also give you this little reader with it that attaches to the headphone jack.
Wow.
If your phone has such a thing. And then you can swipe the card through that.
So what happens if you don't have a headphone jack?
Well, then you have an Apple. But no idea. I haven't had to use that yet because most people tap to pay now. So yeah, so that's interesting. The fees are about, I think it's 1.9% per transaction, which is actually not that high.
Especially compared to FPOS.
3%.
Yeah. And FPOS was pretty high too, isn't it?
No, FPOS wasn't.
Oh, it was like a set kind of fee, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, what? The FPOS machine.
Yeah.
The FPOS machine was actually lower, but the fees were like 50 to 60 a month just to have the machine.
Yeah.
This you only pay for 1 year. So no monthly fee.
Yeah, but to make up $50 to $60 monthly,
yeah,
you'd have to do a high rate through there, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Which we were when we were doing Papa.
Yeah.
Plus, it was almost next to pointless for us. Like we only used it on Thursday nights most of the time and for pickups, which didn't happen because we drop off and there wasn't anything else.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's good. Now,
your other alternatives, though, like I said, you can use PayPal, but personally, PayPal sucks. Or you can.
I wonder if we'll ever do a video on that.
Yeah.
On the 3P one.
Yeah, probably.
I'll throw you under the bus with that.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Because that was painful.
But yeah, we'll talk about that another day. Your other option is Stripe payments, which is very popular online. I think the fees are slightly cheaper than Square, but you don't get a physical reader. But for all your online payments, that's actually very good. So it integrates with the Xero accounting package, so you can have a link that goes out on your invoices to pay by credit card. You can also use it with like a lot of your e-commerce stuff. So like Shopify, I think goes through Stripe anyway.
Like, we're not as lucky as America is, because America has a heap of different cash apps.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it is ridiculous how many cash apps they have.
Oh, by the way, I've noticed that there is one app. I haven't even Googled it yet, but it keeps getting mentioned on this one particular TV show I'm watching on Netflix every time they talk about transferring money. Oh, yeah, just, app name that to me.
Which app?
Venmo.
Yeah.
Is that here?
I don't know if it's here, but I know what it is.
Like people say it. It's like, oh, Venmo user.
I'm not answering that question on stream.
Why?
I'll answer that question off stream.
What? Whether you've heard it or not?
Where I've seen it.
I don't need to know.
I've heard it. I've heard it.
Not on TV show.
No.
Okay. I've seen it appearing on TV show.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on TV shows.
I think I know where you're getting to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't want. It's already been demonetized. Not gone like M-rated.
During your own time.
I haven't got an account. If that's what you're trying to say.
Right. I guess. But yeah, but I noticed the same thing was happening with Waze like years ago. Like the
that sounds.
app.
Yep.
People were like in TV shows that I was watching. Oh, Waze that.
Yeah.
You know how to get there? Oh, just Waze it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, because like now it's like Uber.
Yeah.
Everyone says Uber, even if you're not using Uber.
Same thing happened in TV shows as well. Yeah, I just happened Uber. It's not our cabin. It's our catching.
But even that, like in America, because it's not just Uber now. There's so many different Uber apps.
Yeah.
Well, transport apps.
Point though, like people pay for their kids to get transported in Uber, right?
Wow.
You not heard about that?
No, that's terrible. But okay.
Like,
No, I would never leave my kids with some stranger.
apparently it happened. I think it must be in the US more than anywhere.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. They're not very smart over there.
Yeah, I know, but like,
Sorry if you're watching from America.
yeah,
Well, we have Americans watch the 3P one, so you never know.
yeah, true. But again, this is where near as many views on this yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, if you'd said like 10 years ago, like, yeah, you'll pay like some stranger to come to your house, pick up your kids, and take them to, school.
Yeah.
People would laugh at you. Now it's like, oh, yeah, it's just the same as catching a cab.
Yeah, see, like I said, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Me either.
Like that.
Just the thing.
Like I understand, yeah, school buses, you're doing it with a school. No, that's completely.
That, mind you,
like you.
Uber, but still, in that essence, it's probably.
Let's put it this way: it's a lot harder to hide a bus full of kids
than one,
than to hide two.
Yeah,
which is a bad. Like it's a bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying in the world that we live in.
Yeah, well, the world that we live in.
But the world that we lived in 10 years ago never would have
happened. I miss it. Can we go back to that?
Yeah.
I really miss the old days.
There are a lot of things I do, but there are some things about this day.
Yeah. What I miss is common sense.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put it out there.
No longer common. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I
feel like
that's a topic that. If you want to come down to 3P, that's a 3P Thursday kind of talk.
That's a late night Thursday.
Yeah.
If
you ever want to get into a detailed conversation of the world these days, join that.
Yeah, come down on Thursday and talk world issues.
Let us close this.
It happens, but it does. But yeah, anyway, look, we're almost at an hour, so
we haven't been Well, we ran out of time. Well, I didn't know what else to talk about for the last bit because that wasn't very much, and we can't really talk about backing up a drive in that span.
Today. We'll do that another time. But yes, look, if you like what you saw, if you want to have talk tech, ask tech questions, you can join us again same time next week, 7 p.m. right here, wherever you're seeing my face.
And can I let you know that even if you don't know IT,
you still come talk.
Still come and join, because I've had one of our friends who joins us for Thursday nights say that he doesn't watch it because he's not as IT savvy as us. And I've told him that I sit here 9 times out of 10, Rohan.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he doesn't watch it because he doesn't feel like he knows enough. And I'm like,
that's why you come and watch.
I Google half the time we talk because I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Like this benchmark, I benchmark. So, but other topics that are a bit more in depth, come and join. And if you're on a computer at home, don't feel scared to have a go whilst we're talking. Because, like I said, that's what I do. And it's the best way to learn is having someone like us talking to you about it. So, yeah, come on 7 p.m. Tuesdays. Yep. Have your computer ready to poke around and see what we're talking about.
Thing is a dumb question.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
Except for the one that's not up.
Yeah, and
I'm not.
If you do it whilst we're talking,
live.
You can ask. Yeah. So that's the main thing. If you get stuck, it's not like, oh, I'll ask them next week or something. Yeah. If you're playing with it whilst we're talking about it, you can go, hey, I've done this and this has popped up. And we can go, okay, that's why. Yep. And kind of like last week's topic, shoot your questions and stuff. Yeah, shoot your questions and that to www.thedotmill.com/contact for all our contact details. Yeah. Send it through to us because that's one of the things I really enjoyed. Last week was good because it was.
This week wasn't that bad, but like the interaction level last week was.
Yeah, a lot higher. Yeah. I still love you, Mama. That's okay. But yeah, so head over to there and make sure you let us know what you want to talk about, because like we can come up with things to just talk, because I can talk a lot, Nathan can talk a lot,
Where?
but I know I personally prefer helping other people figure out their things.
Yep.
So, which last week somehow went from our friend and customer talking about upgrading an open loop to buying one of the best Ryzen CPUs you can get.
You get the 3950, yeah. So you got 3950.
Well, one is what I said. But yeah, somehow that ended up happening. And then like today we helped a friend who was planning on spending way too much money on something to spending way too much money on something
That was
but less money. Yeah, it was more suitable for what he needed. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. We convinced our friend that he didn't have to have the best of the best to play a fairly easy title, which again is what we're here for.
Yep.
So yes, hopefully you enjoyed it all.
Going up next week.
I don't know if I'll be here or in my bedroom, but I'm here.
Womp show. Good night.
99. Where's the button? Did you press it?